All right, welcome to the Batman Q&A. This is a Q&A that I have long been wanting to do. Never really had it had a day planned. I should have done this if I was more professional. I would have done this as the Batman Day, Batman's anniversary. But screw it, we're here. As always, I want to thank everyone who sent in questions for this Q&A, and as always, if you'd like to be part of the next Q&A, just hit the link in the description box below. Head on over to my Patreon, hit the first tier, that'll allow you access to do so, as well as check out polls and other stuff I post there, like my review for Predator Badlands and other theatrical movies, stuff like that. Anyway, so let's get started with the questions. Yeah. Starting off with a set of questions comes from my good friend and my brother, Chris. Thank you, bro. First question is, what villains are you looking forward to seeing in the next season of Batman Cape Crusader on Amazon? Well, we do know we're getting Joker. That's going to be the main focus, is that we're getting Joker, and we really have, that's really it. Now, as for other villains I would like to see, I would love to see, like, Zaz. Zaz would be I think Zaz would be absolutely terrifying in this series. I would also love to see how they would, what kind of version of some other lesser known villains, like maybe, what's his name? Camera Face? No, he's got a camera for a head. I can't remember his name. But that guy, I think that would be a lot of fun. Film Freak would be a fun nod to, like, the lesser known villains. I would also say, like, maybe Poison Ivy. A few like those. That would be a lot of fun. Anyway, those are a few I'd like to see right out the gate. Second question, did you hear the time jump for Batman Part 2, the Batman Part 2? How do you feel about that? I kind of expected it, if I'm being honest. That was something I was like, I know, like, it's supposed to be a few months set after the Penguin series. So that's really it, is that it's more of a follow-up to that. I don't know if we're going to get, I know they said we're not going to bring back the Gigante family, but the effects of what happened with Penguin is going to apply here. That's the only thing I know. But I knew we were going to get a time jump, because it's already been, like, what, several years since Batman, the first movie. So I was expecting it. It'd be weird if it said, 6 months later. Anyway, third question. I don't know about you, bro, but I'm done with the basic black look for Batman in movies, and I want a different look. And to me, I would not mind a change in look for color scheme, like the dark gray or dark blue, similar to a 70s look. See, I agree with that, and I think, and it kind of sucks that James Gunn poo-pooed on that, of saying, like, nah, we're not going to do, like, a dark blue costume. And when I'm like, why? Why not? You want to make this more like the DC universe that you know, right, James? Like, you want to do that. So why not really incorporate and do something against the grain? And I get it. Like, does a blue costume mean he has to be funny? No. Some of his best stories are when back in the 70s and 80s, when he was wearing the dark, like, the navy blue costume. So I don't understand, honestly, why that has to be the case. Why does that, like, it would also be a nice change of pace rather than just all black and gray. So how about we just have the blue and gray? I don't know, but I agree with you, man. I would like a change of pace. Thank you for those questions, brother. Moving on now to Gordon Rajani, who asks, what are some of your favorite lesser-known Batman villains that don't get talked about much, like Penguin, Joker, and Catwoman? Firefly is one. I always get excited to see Firefly. He's just a fun villain. Like, all he wants to do is burn things. Like, that's literally it. And I love the aesthetic to him, too. So Firefly is definitely one. I would definitely say, I would say another one I also enjoy is, like, Well, Firefly's on the top of those like lesser known villains, but like if we're going to talk about others, I'd say are like Roxy Rocket whenever she shows up because she did get incorporated into the comics from the animated show. For others, there's like the other Clayfaces, like Preston Payne and the Lady Clayface. Those are good too. Just to name a few right there. But yeah, I those are a few villains, lesser known villains I enjoy. Oh, and Killer Moth because he's such a loser. Second question: who is your favorite Batman sidekick that is not a Robin or Batgirl? And you're not allowed to pick Catwoman. Okay, this is an easy one. Duke Thomas, aka Signal. Signal is literally the dude who he does all the day operations in Gotham. Like when villains started to realize, oh, Batman only comes out at night along with all of his family, so we'll just, commit crimes during the day. And Signal's like, nah, bitch, I am here. Signal is a sidekick that he doesn't get utilized properly these days because he is technically one of the few metahumans in the Batman family because he does have like a connection to multiversal energy in a way. Don't really utilize it that much, but yeah. So yeah, if I was to pick anyone, it's Signal or Ace the Bat Hound. Didn't say anything about dogs. Third question. Batman is pretty popular with the Elseworlds line of comic books. Do you have any favorite ones where he's the star? Gotham by Gaslight is the pinnacle. Batman Gotham by Gaslight is the top of that mountain and was the reason we have Elseworld comics to begin with. So Gotham by Gaslight, I know that's such a basic bitch answer, but yeah, it's hard not to say Gotham by Gaslight if I'm being honest. It would be a crime if I didn't. Also Master of Tomorrow. I really want to read the sequel, like the new sequel that came out called The Kryptonian Age. I really love the Gotham by Gaslight universe. For others, there's the Batman Monster, where it's a Batman version of the Frankenstein monster. I also enjoyed, what was it? It's a Superman Batman comic where the Elseworld is the Kryptonians listened to Jor-El and they colonized Earth and took it over, and Batman's waging a war on the Kryptonians, and Superman is he's raised among the Kryptonians, but he feels bad for Earth, so it becomes like a world's finest story in a way. Also, of course, the Batman Vampire trilogy. That's a good one. There's another one I really like of an Elseworld one no one talks about called Batman Houdini, The Devil's Workshop, where in that story, Batman teams up with Harry Houdini in a Elseworld where they fight Jack the Ripper, who's a vampire, and the Joker, who's also a vampire. These are the comics, folks. So Batman Houdini, that's another one. Oh, and Dark Knights of Steel. That's a recent one. Anywho. Okay, thank you for those questions. Gordon, move on now to Nola Nunejo, who asks, I want to get into more Batman and Catwoman stories that explore their relationship but don't know how to start. Can you please help me? One I would really suggest is Batman Heart of Hush. That's a solid... Batman Heart of Hush is a really solid comic. It's basically it's kind of a Hush sequel, but it is written by Paul Dini. And basically what it is that Hush has returned to Gotham and has kidnapped Selina and cut out her heart to get at Batman, and now Batman's waging a war, trying desperately to save Selina's life from Hush. And it really gets into their relationship, so that's a good one. Some of the Tom King stuff, the first few volumes of Batman. Oh, and Tom King's Batman Catwoman comic he did that acts as like an epilogue to his run. That's another one. Those are the ones that really come to mind for me. I would say Hush, but that comic, looking back on it, the Batman Catwoman stuff is good, but the rest of that comic sucks. Second question. You said Riddler stories are so few, so what are some good ones? Tom King's Riddler One Bad Day. That's awesome. I would also say some of the stuff from Batman Year Zero with Riddler, and also the last story arc in Chip Zdarsky's run, which I haven't finished. I haven't been able to read the rest of Chip Zdarsky's run. I've only got the first 2 volumes. Anyway, moving right along. Third question. If you could create a new Batman villain, what would they look like, powers and abilities be, and origin? Well, I did have a villain that, funny enough, kind of got co-opted by Stephanie Phillips for a new Daredevil run, inadvertently. I don't think she honestly read this. It was years ago, I wrote a Batman Batman Gravity Falls fan fiction that involved the Gravity, the Northwest, the Pines, the Gleefuls. They were all lost families of Gotham, and they escaped deep into Gravity Falls because they were members of the Court of Owls. But there was also something else that they worshipped. They were more like, they weren't so much members of Court of Owls, they were like a breakaway group because they worshipped something else, that being Bill. And we fast forward now and discover that, and I can't believe I'm going to have to explain this, but basically the main villain of the story was a villain called the Omen, which is funny because we're now in Stephanie Phillips' Daredevil run, we're having a story where we're focusing on the lost origins of Hell's Kitchen and a villain called the Omen. Yeah. So that was the idea, is this new villain called the Omen who basically, if I was to bring that character into an actual DC comic, the Omen is essentially the Omen would essentially be like a being not a being, but a person who brings ill tidings upon Gotham. Essentially, like you have been a testament to the sins of the world for so long, and I shall bring an ill omen upon Gotham. And use a lot of like Edgar Allan Poe-esque traps, or connected to a lot of like Edgar Allan Poe stories and rhymes and things like that. Because I'm surprised we don't have a Batman villain who doesn't use Edgar Allan Poe-esque gimmicks, right? I'm like, I don't think, that's never happened. Like, we've never had a Batman villain who doesn't have gimmicks where they're connected to Edgar Allan Poe. So the Omen would literally be connected to Poe, like using, like they would capture the commission, like Gordon, and use the Pit and the Pendulum or something like that. Yeah, so there you go. That's my villain, the Omen. It doesn't have any powers, but would look like a big shroud, almost, and also like to coincide with the Poe motif. They would look like the Mask of the Red Death. Yeah. So, there you go. So, yeah. Thank you for those questions, Nolan. Moving on now to Jason Voorhees 2011, who asks, Jason Voorhees 2011's first question is, what's your favorite Batman crossover that isn't Batman versus Predator? I have a few. Batman Aliens. The first Batman Aliens, I think, is really solid. That one is an absolute banger for a crossover. It's a crossover you think it wouldn't work, right? Like, it's a crossover that you think would in no way, shape, or form actually like work, right? It would absolutely it shouldn't work because the xenomorphs are on Earth, and sending Batman to space is stupid. But here we are, Batman in some Aztec temple battling xenomorphs, not like a whole invasion, but also it's a great horror comic too. So Batman Aliens, Spider-Man Batman, the one with Joker and Carnage, I really like. That's another favorite of mine. I also enjoyed the Batman, what is it? The Dresden Files. Harry Dresden. That was another good one. No, not Harry Dresden. Dylan Dog, excuse me. I get those two characters mixed up. So yeah, Batman Dylan Dog. Even though I have never read anything of Dylan Dog, that comic actually turned out to be pretty cool. So that was a solid one. I really enjoyed that one. And the Batman Ninja Turtles. of course. But I personally like the second one the most. Anyway, but if I was to say like the top, if you had to ask me my favorite Batman crossover, like top of the mountain, like what is a Batman crossover? I can only pick one of those that I just mentioned, but it can't be Batman versus Predator. It would be Batman Aliens. Yeah. Anyway, second question: which writer's run would you say was peak Batman? Some of Tom King's run and some of his work is peak Batman. I would also say I have some hopes for Matt Fraction. I haven't read it, but I have hopes for it. If I was to say someone else that's peak Batman, a lot of like the Neil Adams run from the 70s and 80s, probably there. And those are the ones that come to mind. Yeah. Third question: is there anyone you have in mind who could play Batman in the DCU? Some people have said Jacob Elordi, who played the Frankenstein monster in Del Toro's movie. I can see it. Also, like an oddball one, but like thinking about it, I'm like, I could almost see it. And he actually has voiced Batman in an audio drama, Winston Duke, who most of you guys would know as M'Baku from... he played in M'Baku in the Black Panther movies. And like, you're like, whoa. Kind of noticing there's a difference here, but I'm like, yeah. Same time, though, I'm like, he would kind of work. Like, Winston Duke, you could say, like, oh, he should play Jace, but I'm like, I'm almost, like, honestly, though, I think Winston Duke would be cool as Martian Manhunter, but, like, I would not be opposed if he was Batman. I know certain other people would voice their concerns, but I'm almost tempted. He's got the voice, at least. Anyway. So, yeah. For others... There's really not anyone else I could think of. So, thank you for those questions, Jason. Moving on now to David Deister, who asks, will Matt Fraction kill off any members of the Bat family in his run? I don't know. We're only, like, as of this recording, I think 3-4 issues in, so it's really hard to tell. I don't think he will, probably because, like, we seem to do that a lot with the Batman runs. So I'm going to say no, but you never know. Second question. If you could revive Beware the Batman cartoon, how would you do it? I'd probably have it be like, we kind of ended on the series with Two-Face making an appearance, so have Two-Face be the overarching villain of... You could continue it with Season 3, so I'd probably say that would be the case. I'd probably say, like, that would be the case, is have it be Batman, Two-Face is the overarching villain for that season, but also have the Outsiders, which it's Batman learning to coordinate with a team with Katana, as well as, like, Metamorpho, and I think Man-Bat was on that team, too. So, kind of, that would be the loose idea I would have. Third question. What would a Batman-Moon Knight crossover be like? You know, I actually kind of hope we do get back, even though I think it should be like Azrael Moon Knight, but I think Batman Moon Knight would work just as well. So what would I pick for especially if we got Jed MacKay writing that comic, or one of the two crossovers? What would a Batman Moon Knight crossover look like? I would do it as, have it be that the cult of Khonshu and the Court of Owls have been waging a secret war. Like, have the Court of Owls be the villains, and have it be that, like, in this story, like, the Court of Owls, they basically, ages ago, when a cult of Khonshu opened up residence in Gotham, decades ago, like ages ago, the Court of Owls slaughtered them, and that led to a blood feud, and now Moon Knight has been ordered by Khonshu to take down the Court of Owls. Maybe even have, like, them using their resurrection formula to bring back Mark's brother, Shadow Knight. That would be really cool, just so we can have, because I've noticed, like, for the Marvel, like, so far for these new Marvel DC crossovers, they only use one supervillain. They don't use the villain team up. They're not utilizing the villain team up, for the most part. So, the Court of Owls and a resurrected Shadow Knight would be my pick. That's the loose idea I got. Thank you for those questions, David. Moving on now to Bill McLaughlin, who asks, who is your favorite live-action Batman? It's kind of a tie between Michael Keaton and Robert Pattinson for different reasons. Michael Keaton because, like, he's classic, and also he has a lot of good qualities to him as Batman. And Robert Pattinson embodies, like, a young, angry Batman who's still trying to, like, find himself. No disrespect to the others, but Keaton and Pattinson are my two picks. Second question. Aside from Batman the Animated Series, what is your favorite Batman animated series? The Batman. Like, right behind it, The Batman. That show had some great episodes. It had some great, like, horror to it. And, of course, The Batman vs. Dracula is a highly underrated banger of a Batman animated film. So, The Batman is my number one pick. If it wasn't Batman the Animated Series, it'd be The Batman. Third question. Who is a member of Batman's Rogues Gallery that you feel is underrated? I feel like Clayface gets underrated a lot. I really do, because, like, there's so much, like, and I hope that kind of changes with these, with this movie coming out. I really do think Batman, as a villain and as an actor, I think it's so cool that, like, that's the scary thing about Clayface, is because he's one of the few Batman villains who isn't, like, a normal person. He's a metahuman that Batman has to, like, think outside the box in order to defeat. He has to, like, constantly, like, think, how do I outsmart him? Like, how do I best him? How do I do this, this, and this? And, like, Batman has to, like, constantly be on his guard. And also, like, he's an actor. He could literally just act his way around people. I mean, Batman would probably clock him no matter what. But, like, to regular people outside of the Bat family, yeah. You could be talking to your mom, and then it turns out to be a clay monster. Yeah. There you go. Any of those questions, Bill? Moving on now to Alistair Bondman, who asks, well, many of us love the Bat family, but sometimes it feels like it's gotten a little bloated over the years, even with the recent death of Alfred. Are there any members that you feel could be gotten rid of, or personally, out of plenty of Robins, Tim feels like most like a third wheel, and I could leave or take Duke, or Batwing, Harper Row, Bluebird. They have not used Bluebird at all. Like, they have not in the longest time, they have not used Bluebird in any way, shape, or form. They basically have been they have basically not used Bluebird in any way, shape, or form. So that one can go. Batwing, Batwing has kind of gone off to do his own thing. Tim is now making a resurgence because millennials love Tim Drake, myself included. So he's now like the Robin for Zdarsky and Fraction's run. So that's kind of like, there's that, right? Like, there's that. And I think the only one, like Harper, because it sucks, because there was a lot of build up to that character, then got underutilized. But yeah, Duke also serves a purpose, but yeah, it's a Bat family. What can you do? Second question. The 2004 series, The Batman, is getting a bit of a reevaluation in recent years. If you've watched it, what are your thoughts on it in regards to some of its more controversial choices, like Barbara Gordon as Batgirl before Dick Grayson Robin? I think that's a cool idea, honestly. Some of the other things, like making Joker a martial artist, is really cool. Same with Penguin. I also really like the idea of the tragedy of Clayface in here. And also making Riddler almost like a Jigsaw-like character voiced by Robert Englund, Freddy Krueger himself. I think that's really cool. So you got that. Um, yeah, there are a lot of cool ideas. Third question. You've sometimes spoken in the past about you don't ship Barbara Gordon with Dick or Bruce. But is there someone that you do ship her with within the Bat family or outside? Not really. Barbara's a strong, confident woman. She don't need no man. So yeah. Thank you for those questions, Alistair. Moving on now to Tom Hibbert, who asks, we all know that Clayface is your favorite Batman villain, but what are your thoughts on Ethan Bennett version of Clayface? Okay, Clayface is not my favorite Batman villain. He's in my top 10, but he's not my favorite. That goes to Penguin. As for like I just talked about, the Ethan Bennett thing is a really neat idea. I like this version of Clayface. I like this idea for Clayface being a friend of his that was dealt a tragic hand, almost like it was almost like, since they never did Two-Face in the Batman, they wanted to do a story like Two-Face with Batman, with another character. So I kind of dug it. Second question. The late Kevin Conroy will always be the definitive voice of Batman, but what are your thoughts on Roger Craig Smith as Batman in Arkham Origins and Arkham Shadow? I like him. I like Roger Smith. I really do like Smith's Batman. It's like a younger Batman who is still like feeling that darkness. I think he's really good. I also think he's a lot easier to work with than Troy Baker, because I've heard a lot of controversial things about him. But anyway, we won't get into that. Anyway, so I think he's decent. Is he worthy of being, the next Batman voice? I think he's good, but if you were to ask me like who should be the new constant voice of Batman, that's Bruce Greenwood from Under the Red Hood. Anyway, third question. Jason Todd has always been my favorite member of the Bat family. Do you think it's a breath of fresh air in some adaptations like Gotham Knights and the Wayne family that see Jason has finally moved in and making amends with Bruce? Yeah, I think that's really cool. I think it's really cool that Jason is now back with the Bat family. He's still considered, but the problem is a lot of writers don't know how to utilize him other than Batman. Batman doesn't trust him because he kills people. He's the Marvel's Punisher. When in reality, Batman tries desperately to make amends with his second adopted son. And I also love Jason's interaction with the other Robins, because he is literally almost like the Raphael of the Bat family, especially when he's with Dick, Tim, and Damian. It just feels like that. But I am happy he's there. So thank you for those questions, Tom. Moving on now to Hunter Johnson, who asks, what if Batman traded Ash Ketchum? It'd suck. It would just straight up suck. I would not want that at all. Second question. Would it have been awesome to see Ben Affleck's Batman and Michael Keaton's Batman standing side by side in the Flash movie? Not really, because that movie is garbage. That movie I do not care for, and yeah, Michael Keaton back was cool, but it couldn't have saved that movie of having Ben Affleck, both of those Batmen together wouldn't save it. It would not save this movie. Would Black Hat work as a part of Batman's Rogues Gallery? I'm going to say solid maybe on Black Hat being a Batman member of the Rogues Gallery, mostly because he's a metahuman and also a crime lord, but he's also beyond Batman, so a solid maybe. That's just how I feel on the situation. But anyway, so there you go, guys. That is basically the Batman Q&A. I want to thank everyone who sent in questions for this Q&A. This was a lot of fun, long overdue. And like I said, if you would like to be part of the next Q&A, just hit the link in the description box below. Hit the first tier. That will allow access to do so. Just go from there. And like I said, I'd like to thank everyone who sent in questions. I'm happy I'm really glad I finally got to do a Batman Q&A, and who knows when I'll, maybe when we get to an actual Batman anniversary, I'll do a second one, but who knows. Anyway, other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the multiverse.